Uh, Good morning, students. Today we'll discuss about the salient features of Indian Constitution and also the fundamental rights. So in the previous class, I think we have discussed about the salient features of Indian Constitution. As part of that, in brief, we have discussed about the fundamental rights also, but in detail, as we have in Unit 1, we'll discuss the fundamental rights in detail today. So, if you see the Indian Constitution, do you remember anything from the previous class? I think. Okay, Indian Constitution is a written document. India is governed on the basis of the Indian Constitution. It is a supreme law of the country because the Indian Constitution lays down the structure and principles which define the fundamental political principles, procedures, powers, and duties of the government systems. And the part 3, the fundamental rights of the fundamental rights are incorporated in part 3 of the Indian Constitution. So as part of that, the salient features of Indian Constitution, we have discussed the fundamental rights in brief. Here, if you see the fundamental rights were included in Constitution because they were considered as essential for the development of the personality of every individual in this country and to preserve human dignity. All people, irrespective of their race, religion, gender, caste, have been given the right to petition in the Supreme Court or the High Court for the enforcement of their fundamental rights. If the fundamental rights which are guaranteed by the Constitution are violated, the citizens of this country can approach Supreme Court or a High Court for enforcement of their rights. It is not necessarily that the aggrieved party has to be the one to do so. So in case of the aggrieved party, if the party is not able to approach the Supreme Court or the High Court, etc., the third party also can approach the Supreme Court in the form of filing a public interest litigation, and sometimes based on the newspapers reports also, if the rights of the public are violated by the individuals, groups, or government, or any other organizations, etc., in those kind of cases, the Supreme Court or High Court of the High Courts also can take up the public interest litigations on a suo motu basis. So here, the fundamental rights will help the individuals in protection of their. The fundamental rights help not only in protection but also in prevention of the gross human rights violations which may happen in this country. But even though we have the NHRC, the National Human Rights Commission, that was established in 1993 based on the Protection of the Human Rights Act, the human rights violations are still continued in our country. So here, the fundamental rights are, there are 6 fundamental rights which are guaranteed to the citizens of this country. And here, the freedom of speech and expression, freedom to reside and settle anywhere or any part of the country are not only reserved for the citizens in this country, but it also includes the non-resident Indian citizens. Here, the right to equality in all matters of public employment cannot be conferred to the citizens, overseas citizens of this country. So here, if you see the fundamental rights which are included in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, and these fundamental rights are covered under Article 14 to 32 of the Indian Constitution, and violation of these fundamental rights is a punishable offense. And here, if you see, the fundamental rights also one of the important features of the Indian Constitution. The fundamental rights are defined as basic human rights, and every Indian citizen has the right to enjoy these rights, and violation of these rights result in severe punishments which are prescribed under the IPC sections or Indian Penal Code or any other special laws which were enacted to protect the rights of the individuals in this country. The fundamental rights are universally applicable to all citizens in this country, irrespective of their race, place of birth, caste, religion, gender, and these rights are enforceable by courts subject to certain restrictions. If you see, during the emergency, etc., the right to freedom are suspended. The fundamental rights include right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, right to constitutional remedies. Earlier, when the Indian Constitution was adopted, there was one more right to property was also part of the fundamental rights, but later on the right to property was abolished or it was removed from the fundamental rights. If you see that during the national emergency, it will have adverse impact on the rights of the citizens. In case of emergency, if it is imposed in a state or in the country, that rights conferred, which are guaranteed under the Constitution, Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, are suspended. That includes freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, and freedom of movement. Then, in such kind of situations, the legislature may make certain laws that go against the rights which are given in Article 19. The president may, by order, suspend the right to move the court for the enforcement of the rights which are guaranteed under the Article 19 of the Indian Constitution. If you see the first fundamental right, the right to equality. Right to equality is one of the important fundamental right that is guaranteed by the Constitution. It is embodied or it is included under the Article 14 to 16 of the Indian Constitution, and which collectively encompass the general principles of equality before law and non-discrimination. Article 17 abolishes the practice of untouchability by law, and Article 18, which abolishes the titles. If you see the Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, the Article 14 guarantees equality before law as well as equal protection of law to all people within the territory of India. This includes the equal subjection of all persons to the authority of law, as well as equal treatment of persons in similar circumstances. If you see the Article 15 of the Indian Constitution, Article 15 prohibits. Yes, somebody joined. Shastri. Article 15 prohibits the discrimination on grounds of religion, race, sex, caste, place of birth, and also based on the gender, etc., which means all the individuals are to be treated equally and no person shall be discriminated based on all these grounds such as religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, even the community, nationality, or when a person based on the religion, etc. So that is Article 15. When it comes to the Article 16 of the Indian Constitution, Article 16 guarantees equality of opportunities in matters of public employment, and it prevents the state from discriminating anyone in matters of public employment on the grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, place of residence, or based on their income, etc. So, which means all those individuals of this uh, all those individuals who are living in this country or the citizens of this country have equal opportunities in matters of public employment, and no person should be discriminated on basis of any of the grounds. And Article 17 of the Indian Constitution that abolishes the practice of untouchability in any form, and it is considered as a punishable offense under the law which in our country. Article 18 of the Indian Constitution that prohibits the state from conferring any titles or other than military or academic distinctions. And the citizens of this country also cannot accept any of the titles given by a foreign state. When it comes to the second fundamental right, that is right to freedom. The right to freedom is guaranteed under Articles 19, 20, 21, 21A, and 22 of the Constitution. The right to freedom includes freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble, freedom of assembly, freedom to form associations, unions, or cooperatives, freedom of movement, freedom to reside anywhere in this country, and right to practice any profession or occupation, right to life and personal liberty, protection in respect to conviction in any of the offenses, and prosecution against arrest, detention in certain circumstances or in certain cases. If you see the Article 19(1)(a) of the Indian Constitution that provides freedom of speech and expression to every citizen in this country, but later on, under Article 19(2) of the Indian Constitution, certain reasonable restrictions were laid down under this article, under the Article 92 of the Indian Constitution that restricts the freedom of speech and expression of the individual anywhere when the freedom of speech and expression which affects the integrity and sovereignty of the country, unity of the country, anything which affects the security of the state, anything which affects the relation with a foreign state, etc. In those kind of circumstances, the right to freedom of speech and expression is restricted, and anything which leads to a contempt of court or anything which falls under defamation, anything which is not acceptable for the public or etc. In those kind of cases, also the freedom of speech and expression is being subject to the certain kind of restrictions. Article 19(1)(a) is the freedom of speech and expression that is guaranteed to the Indian citizens in this country. Then Article 19(1)(b), which speaks about the freedom to assemble peacefully without arms. So Indian citizens can assemble anywhere or any part of this country without the arms. But uh, uh, you cannot assemble in a place where it is considered as a restricted area by the government. And Article 19(1)(c), which guarantees the freedom to form associations, unions, cooperative societies, etc. And it also to fulfill certain needs of the individuals, etc., they can form associations and unions. Article 19(1)(d) of the Indian Constitution guarantees the freedom to move freely throughout the country. But in those kind of cases where there is a restricted area, you cannot freely move in those kind of areas. But throughout the country without taking any permission from anyone, an individual citizen of this country can move throughout the country. And here, Article 19(1)(e) of the Constitution says that individuals have freedom to reside or live in any place in this country or any part of the country, depending on their interest. Article 19(1)(f) of the Indian Constitution speaks that any individual in this country have a freedom to choose a profession and carry out any of the occupations of their interest. The government restricts these 6 freedoms in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of the country and its independence. During the emergency, all these 6 freedoms are automatically suspended and restrictions are imposed on the citizens of this country. And according to the law, during the emergency, all these the individuals do not have any right to even approach the court for the suspension of their fundamental rights. And Article 20 of the Indian Constitution says that no person shall be convicted of any offense except for violation of any of the law in force. Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, which guarantees the right to life and personal liberty. According to this, no person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty except according to the procedure which is established by law in our country. And under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution provides free and compulsory education to all the children of between the age group of 6 to 14 years age in this country, and it is also the duty of the concerned state to provide free and compulsory education to the children between the age group of 6 to 14 years. This is right. So the government of India enacted the Right to Education Act in 2010. Based on the Right to Education Act, it is mandatory to provide free and compulsory education to the children between the age group of 6 to 14 years. When it comes to Article 22(1) of the Indian Constitution, no person who is arrested shall be detained in the custody without informed as soon as they may be arrested on any of the such grounds. Later on, if you see, if a person is arrested on a charges, he should be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours from the time of arrest. Then we have the third fundamental right, that is the right against exploitation, that is protected under Article 23 of the Indian Constitution and also the 24 of the Article 24 of the Indian Constitution. If you see the Article 23 of the Indian Constitution, that prohibits the human trafficking, and it also prohibits the traffic in human beings and also forced labor. And Article 24 prohibits prohibits the employment of children in hazardous factories. We also have a children's law, Children's Act, which was enacted in 1960. We also have the Child Labor Act that protects the children's rights in our country. So Article 23(1) of the Indian Constitution says that trafficking human beings and beggar and other similar forms of forced labor are prohibited, and any contravention of this provision shall be considered as a punishable offense according to the law which is established in our country. Article 24 says that no child below the age of 14 years shall be employed to work in any of the factory or a mine or engaged in any other hazardous industries or hazardous places. Then right to freedom of religion. India, if you see, the preamble of the Indian Constitution says that India is a sovereign, secular, and republic democracy, which means India is a secular country where all the religions are equally treated, and individuals in this country have freedom of religion. Any individual may practice any kind of religion of their choice or their interest. So right to freedom of religion is a fundamental right that is guaranteed by the Constitution, and right to freedom of religion are protected under Article 25, 26, 27, and 28 of the Indian Constitution. One second. The right to freedom of religion, that is a fundamental right that is covered under Article 25 to 28 of the Indian Constitution, and it provides religious freedom to all its citizens and ensures a secular state in India. According to the Constitution, there is no official state religion, and because of that, every individual may practice or profess any kind of religion of their choice. Article 25 guarantees all persons the freedom of conscience and the right to preach, practice, and also propagate any religion of their choice without interference by others. Even the individuals or the government or any other communities, they should not interfere with the individuals, and individuals have a freedom of religion. And this right is, however, subject to public order, morality, and health, and the power of the state to take measures for social welfare and reform. The right to propagate means individuals may also have a right to promote their religion, but certain restrictions are laid down on the individuals, and no persons can force the other individual to enter into their religion or practice their own religion, etc. And Article 26 guarantees all religious dominations are sex subject to the public order, morality, and health. They can manage their own affairs in matters of religion, and they can set up institution of their own for charitable or other religious purposes, and they can own, acquire, and manage their own property in accordance with law which is established in our country. These provisions do not derogate from the state's power to acquire property belonging to a religious denomination. And if you see the Article 27 that guarantees that no one can be compelled to pay any of the taxes for the promotion of any particular religion or religious institution. Article 28 of the Indian Constitution is prohibits religious instruction in wholly state-funded educational institutions, which means any organization or any institution or educational institution, they cannot impose any kind of religion or to profess the children in the state in their educational institutions. So Article 28 prohibits religious instruction in a wholly state-funded educational institution, and educational institutions receiving any kind of aid or support from the state cannot compel any of their members to receive religious instruction or to attend religious worship without their consent. That is right to freedom of religion and right against exploitation. There is also a fundamental right that contained in Articles 23 and 24 of the Constitution. Under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution that guarantees the right to life and personal liberty, which means no person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty except according to except in accordance with the law which is established in our country. Article 21 also declares that no person shall be denied his life and liberty except by the due process of law in a country. This means that a person's life and personal liberty does not, it cannot be disputed only if that person has committed a crime. Unless a person is committed a crime, etc., then his right to life cannot be interfered by any of the individuals. However, even you have a right to life.
Which article states this that no person shall be denied admission in education?
Article 21. Article 21, right to life. Yes. But even though, yes, but even though we have right to life, we don't have a right to commit suicide or we don't have a right to die also, as it is a fundamental right that is protected by law. And if you commit a suicide also, it is a punishable offense by law in our country.
But I'm asking about educational right now. Who's who cannot be denied? Like currently, educational institutions due to some delay.
But yeah, if you see, yes, that is Right to Education Act that was enacted in 2010. That is protected. That is under 21A of the Indian Constitution. It is the responsibility of the state to provide free and compulsory education. But under article right to freedom of religion, the religious organization or places of worship or the institutions may have their own educational institutions, but they cannot instruct the religious uh, material or religious information through their educational institutions, because they are funded by the government or they are receiving some kind of aid from the government. But as India is a secular country, no one can object the other person to practice their religion, or they cannot promote their religious propaganda through the means of educational institutions. Yes? Done, Ushasri?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But still the thing is, it's under Article 21A they have given this.
21A is right to education. 21A.
Yes.
Okay. That was, if you see the Right to Education Act, you will get all the information. Right to Education Act. That was enacted in 2010. It came into force from 2010, April 1st. Yes?
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Then cultural and educational rights. A citizen in this country having, as we have, India is a India is a country where diverse languages and cultures are practiced, and we have many more languages. Those people speak in our country, and India, we have languages which are spoken, but they do not have a script also. So in those kind of cases, as India is having diverse cultures, etc., Indian citizens have a right to promote their culture and their scripts, etc. But again, subject to the reasonable restrictions which may be laid on by the government. And here, no person shall be denied admission into any educational institution when it comes to the educational rights. Here, no person shall be denied admission into any educational institution that is maintained by the state or the government, or any educational institution that is being provided a support from the state or central government on grounds of uh, religion, race, caste, language, or any of them. Like we have discussed under Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, where the right to equality, and the right to equality, no person shall be deprived of or no person shall be discriminated on based on any of the grounds like age,
Yes, yes,
sex, religion, etc. So here the same way, education, all individuals, those who are born in this society or in India, they have the educational rights. So no person shall be deprived of education in this country, and no person should be denied any admission into the educational institution based on their religion, caste, community, language, ethnicity, etc. So here, minorities and religious linguistic groups can set up their own educational institutions to preserve and promote their own culture, and while getting the support from the government organizations and institutions. But the state cannot discriminate against any institution on the basis of the fact that it is managed by a minority institution. So even the state government or the central government, they have to treat all the educational institutions as equal, but they have to impose certain restrictions where they cannot promote their own religious propaganda through the educational institutions in this country. Okay, then we have the sixth fundamental right, that is right to constitutional remedies. Like in the beginning, we have discussed that the violation of the fundamental rights, if the rights of the individuals are violated, Under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, each individual have the right to life and personal liberty. So the liberty or the freedom of a person cannot be taken away in any of the circumstances, except by the procedure which is established by the law. During the emergency, only the freedoms of the individuals can be suspended, but unless a person commits a crime, etc., the rights of the citizens cannot be violated. So here, the right to constitutional remedies, it is a right, uh, it empowers the citizens of this country to move to a court for violation or denial of their fundamental rights. We have district courts, we have high court, we also have Supreme Court, where if our rights are violated by any of the individuals, even government, public institutions, individuals, groups, mobs, any of the etc. In those kind of cases, we can approach the courts for ensuring our fundamental rights. Even in case of imprisonment, if a person is even imprisoned, they also do have certain rights. They have to be provided proper shelter, safety, clothing, food, etc. All those basic amenities have to be provided to them by the government. So here, if a person is imprisoned, the person can also ask the court to see if it is in accordance with the provisions which are established by law or not. Even if a person is not committed a crime, he can also uh, may get the legal remedies. He can approach a lawyer and he can defend his own case also in case of his rights are violated. Even the Supreme Court of India shall have the power to issue directions or orders in the form of habeas corpus or mandamus prohibition, quo warranto, and etc. to protect the rights of people in this country. Just now, I said that right to education as a fundamental right. The Right to Education Act that guarantees the free and compulsory education for the children between the age group of 6 to 14 years. That is provided under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. So here, it is the duty of the concerned state to provide free and compulsory education to the children between the age group of 6 to 14 years. And later on, if you see the right to information, even though it is not directly guaranteed by the Constitution, right to information is also considered as a fundamental right, and it is protected under Article 14 and Article 9, Article 14, Article 19, and Article 21 of the Constitution. And then right to privacy on August 24, 2017, the Supreme Court of India declared right to privacy as a fundamental right, and it should be protected under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution and also under Article 19 of the Indian Constitution. So which means along with the 6 fundamental rights which are guaranteed directly by the Constitution, we do have the fundamental rights like the right to information, right to privacy, and also the right to education. All these are considered as the fundamental rights of every citizen in this country, and they are to be protected under Article 21 of the Constitution, which states that individuals have right to life and personal liberty. Okay, these are relating to the fundamental rights. Then we also have some more time. What we can discuss. Okay, we have civil and political rights. Those also look like similar, like the fundamental rights. But here, to protect the civil rights and the political rights, again, for the protection of them, we can approach the Supreme Court or High Courts. Then we also have the National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commission for the protection of these rights. If you see the civil rights, they also look like same, but you have to mention the civil and political rights are not directly guaranteed by the constitution, but the fundamental rights are directly guaranteed by the constitution. If you see this civil and political rights, these civil and political rights are a class of rights which protects the individual's freedom from infringement or violation by the governments, social organizations, and also the private individuals. They protects the individual's entitlement to participate in civil and political life of a society without any kind of discrimination or repression by others in the form of any way, anything. So here, civil rights includes providing or protection of people's physical and mental integrity or mental safety, protection of life and safety, protection from discrimination on grounds such as sex, race, sexual orientation, gender, identity, national origin, color, age, political affiliation, ethnicity, or disability, and religion, etc. So no person should be discriminated based on any of the grounds. So the civil rights protects the individual's mental and physical. It provides physical and mental integrity. It protects the life of the individuals, and it also helps them to participate in civil and political life of the society without any kind of discrimination on any kind of basis. And the political rights includes natural justice, where under Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, we have discussed that we have uh, the citizens of this country are equal before law. So because of that, individuals should be treated equally before law, and even the individuals are accused in any of the cases, they do have certain rights, and they have right to free trial, due process, and also they can also have the right to seek redress or legal remedies to protect their rights, and they also have right to participate in civil society and also politics as the citizens, like under the right to freedom, we have six freedoms. So where the individuals also have the freedom to form associations. It can be a political organizations or civil society organizations, whatever. They have freedom to form associations. They have right to assemble peacefully without any kind of arms. They also have right to petition in Supreme Court, High Court, or district courts, etc., to protect their rights. Along with that, they also have the right to self-defense to protect themselves in various circumstances, and they do have the right to vote. And if you see under the fundamental rights, there is adult franchise where the individuals have the right to vote and elect a public representative of their choice. Those who, after attaining the age of 18 years, they have this right to vote. There's also a fundamental right guaranteed by the Constitution. Civil and political rights are guaranteed. They are included under this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and India is also adopted this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where it provides economic, social, and cultural, political, and civil rights to the citizens, and where if the rights of the individuals are violated, then they can approach the legal support or the High Court, Supreme Court, etc., to protect their rights. The phrase civil rights, the word civil rights, which is, uh, wait, okay. Okay. As a citizen of this country, when we are born, we become the citizens of this country. So, the civil rights are guaranteed to the citizens when they are living in a society or when they are born into a society. So, here, if we, as a citizens of this country, we do have different kinds of rights like civil rights, economic rights, and also we do have political rights. When it comes to the civil rights, the fundamental right where we have discussed about the right to life, it is also a right of the individual citizen that is called right to life. So it is again protected under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, where the right to life is protected by law. And here, uh, the right to life, even as we have the right to life, the right to life, even we do not have a right to commit suicide or kill ourselves. And the right to life is something which is protected by law, and it is the responsibility of the state to provide social safety and mental safety of an individual in this country, to provide basic amenities to the citizens of this country, like the all those what we have. This, it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that the citizens of this country are safe, and they attain all the basic they receive all those kind of basic amenities, etc. When it comes to the just now we have discussed right to education, that is again guaranteed under the right to life. With this is with the 86th amendment to the constitution in the year 2002, the article 21A was inserted under the article 21 of the constitution, and which provides free and compulsory education to all the children in this country. And the Right to Education Act, which was enacted and that came into force from April 1st, 2010. And under the right to life, again, the right to information also is considered as the fundamental right of this country. And here it is protected under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, along with that under Article 91A of the Constitution that speaks the freedom of speech and expression. Even the right to privacy is considered as a fundamental right under the right to life, which is also a civil right, and right to life is also guaranteed by the Constitution as a fundamental right under the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. And here, right to privacy. Individuals in a society have their own privacy, which means no individuals, government, organizations should not interfere with the life of an individual. He do have his own right to live the way he wants to live, etc. And nobody can interfere with his life. And right to let alone is the basis for the right to privacy. And right to privacy is considered as an integral part of the right to life and personal liberty that is guaranteed under the Article 21 of the Constitution. And on 24th August 2017, the Supreme Court of India said that right to privacy is also a fundamental right which should be protected under the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. But yes, if you see the media institutions, they do violate the right to privacy of the individuals, but ethically, violation of the privacy of individual is a violation of journalistic ethics. But in the interest of the public, in certain cases, the privacy of the individual is overridden, and it is the duty of the media to provide certain information relating to a person who is discharging in a different functions in a public life, and the personalities who are in the public life do not exercise the same kind of right to privacy as a normal human being or normal citizen. So, in the interest of the public, certain information relates to the public figures, etc., can be disclosed as the citizens of this country also have the right to know. Because of that, only the right to information also came to existence, where to promote accountability and transparency among the working of the government, etc. The Right to Information Act was enacted in the year 2005. But as the political parties, the major disadvantage of this is the political parties are not under the purview of the Right to Information Act. And there is the Central Information Commission, which upheld that all those political parties, because they are functioning in the public gaze and they are accountable to the society and the individuals in the society, they are accountable to the citizens and they have to disclose the information that are under the Right to Information Act relates to their expenditure, relates to their activities, etc. But still, they they are not part of the they are not under the purview of the Right to Information Act. Then, if you see the second civil right is the right to family life. as as part of the Article 21, we have right to life. It is one's choice to one can marry a person of their choice, and they can produce also children, have a family life. But again, the family system is also is regulated by law in our country. Polygamy, bigamy, polyandry, child marriages, etc., are not they are not supported, or by law they are punishable offenses. And when it comes to the marriage, they do have certain rights, both the uh, partners in the family, and during the divorce, etc., or when it comes to the property rights, the family, children, succession rights they do have, and those are governed by certain different laws. But right to family life is a civil right where a person is having a choice or freedom to marry a person and have their own family and children, etc. Then right to education, this is also a civil right. Right to education is also a fundamental right. And if you see, the education for a human being is essential as food, water, shelter, clothing, etc. It has become a basic need. If you see, information is considered as a power. So if you have information, if you have knowledge, you can understand the society better. And here, the uneducated persons might not be able to understand the issues and problems and express their views and criticize the government. But an educated person may understand the situations well. They can understand the society, they can understand the problems, they can express uh, their views in better than a uneducated person. So here, right to education also becomes an important integral part of the individual, and right to education is also a basic fundamental right of the citizens, and it is also a civil right. And right to personal freedom, this is the fourth civil right. And right to freedom is also part of the fundamental rights, where we have six fundamental rights. Right to personal freedom, as it is essential for the mental and physical growth of an individual, but it does not mean that individual can do whatever he likes. Right to personal freedom can be enjoyed, but only in accordance with the law which is established in a country. The six fundamental rights, as we have discussed, they can be suspended during the emergency. But here, right to freedom includes right to form associations, right to freedom of speech and expression, Again, right to move, right to move throughout the country, right to settle down anywhere in the country, right to uh, choose a profession of your choice, or etc. Right to settle down anywhere in this country, right to form associations, right to assemble anywhere in this country without arms, etc. All these freedoms are there. All those freedoms, right to freedom is also, personal freedom is also a civil right. Then right to religious freedom, just now we have discussed under right to religious religion, etc. So here, the right to religion, in a democratic and secular country like India, religious freedom is also given to the citizens. It is also a civil right, human right, and also it is a fundamental right guaranteed under the constitution. And the state does not impose any religion on the citizens of this country, and individuals are free to adopt any religion, profess a religion, to worship to go to a place of worship, or attend religious institutions, etc. So all this freedom so they have as a citizen in this country. Then, so as we have right to religious freedom, an individual can freely profess, practice, and also propagate their own religion, but they do not have a right to compel anyone to practice their own religion, etc. Uh, the freedom of thought and expression, the freedom of speech and expression, again, it is guaranteed under the Article 19(1) of the Indian 1A of the Indian Constitution, that says that the citizens of this country have freedom of speech and expression. It is also a basic human right. It is also a civil right. It is also a fundamental right that is guaranteed by the Constitution. Right to freedom of movement, this is also a civil right, and it is also becomes as a fundamental right, as it is also guaranteed under the fundamental rights. So here, the citizen in this country can freely move throughout the country without any interference from others, but the individuals cannot move in a place where it is considered as a restricted area. And freedom of the press, as we considered it as a fourth estate, and it is acting as a watchdog of the society. In democratic countries like India, we do have the freedom of speech and expression. Along with that, to express our views, we can use different platforms. We can print the newspapers and magazines or any other periodicals, and we can also use the mass media channels to disseminate information freely without any kind of interference from others. But to have a newspaper or a periodicals to start, we have to register with the registrar of newspapers for India, and to broadcast the channels, we need to get license or to transmit the programs, etc. But here, the freedom of the press or freedom of speech and expression is again subject to the reasonable restrictions. And under Article 19(2) of the Indian Constitution, there are certain reasonable restrictions which are laid down under the Article 19(1) of the Indian Constitution that speaks. We do have the freedom of speech and expression. So anything which affects the integrity and sovereignty of the country, anything which affects the security of the state, anything which affects the friendly relations of this country with a foreign state, anything which affects the public order, anything which affects the decency and morality, and anything which is falls under the contempt of court, or anything which leads to defamation, anything uh, which is incitement to an offense, etc. In all those kind of cases, the right to freedom of speech and expression is subject to the reasonable restriction. So in the when you are expressing your views, you must be careful that you have to see all the information might not endanger the national security, or it should not affect the unity of this country, integrity of the country, the sovereignty of the country. It should not affect the friendly relations of this country with foreign state, and anything which should not affect the public order, morality, and decency, which cannot um, be falls under the contempt of court or defamation. You cannot have, even though you have freedom of speech and expression, you do not have the freedom to defame a person's reputation. So anything, even though if you are printing any information, it should not provoke the sentiments of people, or it should not incitement to an offense. Then right to equality is also considered as a fundamental, it is also a fundamental right, it is also a civil right. And right to equality means no person shall be discriminated on the basis of any caste, creed, religion, sex, place of birth, ethnicity, religion, etc. And all of them are to be treated equally before the law. All individuals have the right to access to the public places. Along with that, all of them have to get equal opportunities in matters of public employment. And by law, under Article 17 of the Indian Constitution, which abolishes the practice of untouchability. So this is relates to the right to equality and right to justice. We have just now discussed that for anyone who violates your fundamental rights, you have the right to approach a court for getting justice, and your rights can be protected by law. And freedom to form associations is also a civil right, where as to fulfill certain socio-economic and political cultural needs, one individual can establish their own associations, which means they can form associations to promote, to fulfill their own socio-economic, political, and cultural needs. Right to contract. Any individual, as a citizen in this country, they can enter into an agreement with others to fulfill their own basic needs, etc., in this country, or to fulfill their socio-economic and cultural needs. When it comes to the economic rights of the individuals, we have right to work. The right to work as is again can be guaranteed under the Article 21. All these economic rights can be guaranteed under the 21 of the Indian Constitution. So here, an individual can work to sustain India, or live in the society, and to fulfill certain needs of the person, and a right to adequate wages. When a person is entering into an agreement, or when he joins a job or any profession, etc., he has right to get adequate wages for his labor. And right to property, where a person is earning, he is entitled to buy property, and it is also a civil right, and he can also redeem the property, or he can earn money, and he can save that money, and he can buy immovable or movable property. Again, right to property is governed by certain laws in our country again. Then the right to rest and leisure. When a person is working for some hours, uh, generally a person is also entitled to get sufficient rest or leisure while he is working or after working hours. Then right to social security, in a again, to protect the citizens in this country, to support them economically, and to provide social security. It is the duty of the state to provide old age pensions, or take care of the sick persons by providing public health, and to protect the individuals, there's a duty of the state also to provide employment to the citizens. Then right to fixed hours of work. When you are entering into an agreement with the institutions, again, it is subject to the provisions of your contract, but again, individuals have to be fixed with their own employers the number of working hours. They do have, when they are entering into an agreement with the organization, they have a fixed number of hours of work. Generally, it is considered 8 hours a day is considered as the number of hours a person can work for an organization, etc. That excludes the other transport hours they do transport to the organization and breaks, etc. in between. Then political rights, when it includes the political rights, individuals have right to vote. Again, under the universal adult franchise, it is becomes a fundamental right also. And right to vote is also a civil right where individuals can elect the public representatives after they attain the age of 18 years, and no individual can be discriminated on different on various grounds, but all of them after they attain the age of 18 years, they have right to vote and they can choose, they can elect their own public representative. And right to get elected, an individual can also contest in elections and they can participate in the electoral processes and they can also get elected. But again, if you want to be elected as a MLA, etc., you need to have 25 years age, etc. They do have certain uh, parameters to be elected for the positions if you want to be elected as a member of parliament or member of state legislature, etc. Right to hold public office, yes, after getting elected as a representative, an individual have right to hold a public office. It is also a civil right. Right to petition, it is also a civil right. When your rights are violated, you can approach the High Court, Supreme Courts, etc., for getting justice, and which means you have right to petition. Right to form political parties, like you have the freedom to form associations to fulfill certain socio-economic political needs, etc. Yes, as a citizen, you can have the right to form political parties. Even right to criticize, as it is citizen in this country, it is a civil right. You can criticize the politicians, the government, and also the people in power are discharging the public functions, but in a fair and decent manner. And right to oppose the government, you also have the right to oppose the government when it fails to protect the interests of the citizens of this country, or if they fail to discharge their duties. So these are the political rights. So as part of the syllabus, you should not confuse with the civil rights, political rights, and economic rights and fundamental rights. Again, if you see the human rights, political rights, civil rights, fundamental rights, all of them look like same, but you need to differentiate from one to other. If they ask you to write about civil rights, you need to know how you can explain about the civil rights. But if they are asking you to write about the fundamental rights, you have to mention all those articles and elaborate on each fundamental rights. And the 6 fundamental rights you have to mention, and you just give a brief about the constitution, the salient features if you know. Otherwise, you can just start writing from the fundamental rights are included under the part 3 of the Indian Constitution, and mention about the 6 fundamental rights which are guaranteed by the Constitution, and you write about the articles and the essence of each fundamental right. That is enough. Yes. I stop here. today. Then we might, we have a class on 9th, I believe, next class, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th we have. Chalo, I leave the session. Ushasri, are you student of Ambedkar University? Yes. Okay, I'm leaving the session. Thank you.